everyone to the Wednesday, March 3rd, 2021 Evanston Liquor Control Review Board. First thing is I'll take attendance, make sure we've got quorum. Dick Peach.
Speaking here.
All right. Marion Macbeth.
Here.
All right. And Mayor Steve Haggerty here. So we do have quorum. I would like to move a motion per Governor Pritzker's executive order suspending in-person attendance requirements for public meetings, thereby allowing public meetings such as the Liquor Control Board to meet virtually. Is there a second to that motion?
Certainly.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So all three board members have passed the motion that we can meet in virtually. So thank you everybody for being here. Next up, item number 3 on our agenda is going to be approval of the meeting minutes. And this is from the September 2nd, 2020 meeting. Dick or Marion, are there any changes or concerns you have about those minutes?
I didn't see any changes, no.
I didn't either.
All right. I'm going to move a motion then to approve the minutes of September 2nd, 2020. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. I'm going to take a Marion, you support the minutes?
I do.
All right. So the minutes have passed on a 3-0 vote. We're now going to move to new business. We have 3 items on the agenda today. The first one is an exciting one. We've been watching it get built. I know it didn't quite go the way that the owners wanted or that any of us wanted because of the pandemic, but people are excited about Double Clutch Brewing Company coming to Evanston and being on Ashland Ave. And so I'm going to ask if the owners would like to, if you haven't already, turned on your video so we can see you. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself so we can record you for the minutes, and then just talk about the class license that you're requesting of the city. So welcome.
Thank you very much. My name's Nick Hines. I'm one of the principals from Double Clutch Brewing Company, and thank you very much for having us today.
Great.
Really appreciate it.
Welcome, Nick. Yeah, tell us.
And my attorney, Mark Vineco's on as well.
Okay. Welcome, Mark. So, Nick, why don't you just talk to us about, you're looking for a Class J brew pub license. So just so the committee can understand, or the board can understand, and others that are here, tell us about what your plans are and what you're trying to do and the license that you're seeking.
So currently what we're planning on doing is we're going to be a brew pub. So we're going to be manufacturing our own beer and brewing it in-house. But we will also be serving other beers, wines, and then also we have a special event space in the location as well. So it's going to be a restaurant, full food menu, and then in the back we also have an additional space for any private events, and also auxiliary seating, which will, during the current pandemic, is really going to be helping out as well, just because it's a very large space. So we will not have any issues in terms of spacing out. So our food menu that we're currently proposing, a lot of it does have pairings with different beers and things like that we're going to be producing. We're going for a more authentic European style beers, which generally are lower alcohol content and a little bit more difficult to produce, but it's also much more clarity, things like that, where it's a cleaner beverage, and we're really excited about it. It's going to be a bit laborious as the whole construction process and going through everything during the pandemic has been, but we're very excited. And then in terms of the actual licensing, I believe, Mark, what's the exact designation for the class of license that we are applying for on that?
With Evanston, I believe it is the Class J license.
Yeah.
It is a brew pub in addition to retail food.
And so we've got Brian George, our attorney, the city attorney, with us. Brian, just for the board's sake, can you just hit the highlights of the Class J license for us in terms of the hours of operation that it grants them, and the days of the week and all that? You're muted, Brian.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
For Class J brew pubs, on-site liquor is permitted from 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. Monday through Thursday, 11 a.m. through 2 a.m. Friday through Saturday, and then 11 a.m. through 1 a.m. on Sunday. And then off-site beer sales are permitted 10 a.m. through 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. through 11 p.m. Friday through Saturday, and 11 a.m. through 10 p.m. on Sunday.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that, Brian. Nick, just so we have an understanding, like what's your sense of the hours that you're going to have? And I mean, we're pretty familiar where Double Clutch is. It's sort of this light industrial kind of area. It's not a residential area. Big church, of course, on Sundays across the street. But what are your tentative plans for hours of operation? Oh, you're muted, Nick.
I apologize. We were planning on using those same hours that are allotted by that class of license. And for the weekends, we're planning on doing probably about a 10:30 brunch, 11 o'clock on Sunday, obviously. And so we're going to be doing brunches on the weekends, and then kitchen's going to be open the whole time. And truthfully, I don't see too many people staying out too late because of many of the other brew pubs I know. It's usually about midnight-ish when everyone starts heading out for the most part. But it would mainly be, the only time it would be probably till 1, if that, would be just for some of the special events. But a lot of those generally end at about midnight.
Yeah. Evanston's a fairly quiet city in the evenings. It doesn't go late into the mornings and stuff like that. But the license obviously grants you 11 to 2. So I just appreciate you giving us a sense. Remind me, how many square feet do you have in the facility? And do you have a sense of when you're hoping to open it? And I know, again, tough time because of the pandemic, but hopefully we're on the back end of that pandemic and going to come out of it soon.
Correct. So we are currently, I believe it's approximately 12,000 square feet for the whole facility. And I mean, I'd say the kitchen itself is taking up about 1,200 square feet of that, 1,000 square feet. So the front brew pub portion is about 2,000 square feet, I believe. And then the rest is the back facility for special events, the actual brew house, and the tanks. So, and then in turn, what was the other question? I forgot. I apologize.
Around when do you think? Do you have a sense of when you're trying to open?
We're planning on getting our final inspections in about 2 weeks. And in terms of actually brewing, the biggest issue that we have is our supplier. One of the biggest problems with the pandemic was actually getting our tanks in. But we have all of that, and now we're just waiting for the final 5%, which unfortunately is the motherboard for the entire control panel of the brewing system. So I mean, in terms of we just have finishes on the bar themselves and a little bit of carpentry, and then just the final stages of the actual brew house. We're hoping to have our supplier told us we should have that within a week or so. And then we'd like to start working on brewing and things like that. So we're hoping within 2 months, 2 to 2.5 months.
Terrific. And how large events can you have there? If somebody rents it out for an event, or is there separate event space? Like, how does that work?
There's separate event space in the back. And if you lay it out properly, I mean, in the best of times when there's no restrictions and whatnot, you'd be able to have somewhere maybe 300, but it wouldn't be, it'd probably be for more, for maybe a wedding or something like that, maybe like 300-ish at the high end.
Mhm.
But most of the events I'm assuming are going to be some smaller corporate events and things like that, which are probably going to be between the 100 and 150 range.
Okay. Well, it's great to have another nice event space here in Evanston. I know you've all invested a lot of money into it, and Alderman Rainey's with us, and there's a great event space that's just opening up on her in her part of the city over in Howard Street. So very, very exciting. Brian, I'm going to ask you. You've spent more time than anyone probably with the application. Any issues that you saw with their application?
No, the Evanston Police Department still isn't doing background checks or fingerprinting at this time. So we're proceeding with the application because, it's been a year since the EPD has been able to do that. So we can still grant them a license, I guess, I don't know what the technical term is, but I know we can still grant them license provisional or whatever. And we've asked them to supplement their application once EPD gets back to doing fingerprinting. And I think we're still waiting on the certificate of liability insurance, but that's not an issue. We can, the license would not be issued until that certificate of liquor liability comes in. But other than that, it's no issues.
Okay. What about? I was unaware about the EPD not doing the fingerprinting and all of that. So does that hold up their liquor license until
No.
EPD does that? And
No, we can still issue them a liquor license. We've just asked that they supplement once EPD does get back to doing fingerprinting. The Illinois State Police isn't doing it either. So no.
This is just something that's been put on hold because of the pandemic,
Correct.
I guess.
Correct.
Okay. So maybe Mark knows more, or you, Nick. I just want to make sure. I like the fact that we've always, that this is part of the process, that we fingerprint and, background check folks, because it's a privilege to have a liquor license. So are you two familiar with what's going on here with that? And then do they require you to go out and get a separate sort of background check done by a private company that you have to submit as part of the application?
Well, I know that a lot of the other, first off, I'm not worried in terms of what's going to come back on the background check, just because we've been fingerprinted enough times that they on a few different licenses. So we should be fine in that. But I know that
You want to stress, Nick, on a few different licenses we've been fingerprinted. Like, oh, I've been fingerprinted so many times. Like,
four licensing. But so I know that in the city of Chicago, we have the same issue right now. We're going for another license as well. And where for them, they're not doing it at City Hall right now either. And so I know that they have us going, they have second, companies that will actually do it for them. But other municipalities a lot of them have done the same thing, where everything's just kind of on a freeze in the same manner. So it's common right now, just because unfortunately, what we're dealing with right now. So.
All right.
And as info, the city code does allow for conditional licenses without fingerprinting being done.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Brian. All right. I'm going to open it up to Dick or Marion if they have any questions of the applicant or Brian.
No, my only comment is welcome aboard. It's been a long time hearing about double clutch for quite a while over there. We're familiar with the neighborhood, and I've been around Evanston long enough to remember Fanny's restaurant there on the corner that no longer is there, but it's an old established neighborhood, and we're glad you're on board. I'm looking forward to having a couple of cold ones there with you.
I appreciate the kind words. We're extremely excited as well. It's been a long time coming, and we're really excited to finally be able to start brewing and getting, trying the product and making sure everybody's able to come and enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with everything Richard said, except for the fact that I don't drink beer, but otherwise, welcome to the community.
Well, that's why we went with the brew pub. So you can have, if you like wine, we have wine as well.
Okay, thank you.
They got you covered, Marion. They got you covered.
Got it.
All right. I'm going to open it up if there are any questions from our aldermen or anybody in in public comment for this applicant? All right. Seeing none. Nick, you guys have been in the business for a long time. Your servers are Bassett trained. You understand all of that. I mentioned earlier, it is a privilege, right, to have a liquor license. I certainly expect as the liquor commissioner that you are going to act responsibly in terms of who you're serving. Obviously, this is a college town. We do have young people that live here. And, I want to make sure that you're abiding by all of our city, ordinances and rules, as well as the state rules. If that doesn't happen, then, you'll come over here to City Hall and we'll have a very tense conversation about any violation, and it won't be looked on favorably.
We're very strict in regard to public safety and all that. So we will be on top of that.
Thank you. We're excited to have you in town, and big investment. I drive by it all the time. I'm excited to go over there and see it myself. Let's see. I'll move a motion that we move the Class J liquor license for Double Clutch Brewing Company to the Evanston City Council for the March. Brian, I'm thinking it's not going to go on this Monday, I can't imagine. So is it the March 22nd City Council meeting that we'll put this forward?
Correct. And I'll get in touch with Alderman Rusins about if she wants to suspend the rules
Okay,
for
thank
introduction
you.
action.
Thank you. All right, is there a second to that motion?
I second.
All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, so Nick, we're going to go ahead then and move this to the
Thank
City
you.
Council on the 22nd of March. If you would like, if it's necessary because of your opening and all that, you can speak to your alderwoman about whether she would have it on the agenda for introduction and action the same evening, if it's really important that you get it that quick, or otherwise it goes for introduction and then 2 weeks later it goes again before the council for action. And that's just to give the public any time if they want to come forward with any concerns.
We giving it the extra 2 weeks shouldn't be a problem. So
Okay.
if it's, we don't want to make it too stressful.
I think that's fine. And again, if it's the 22nd, we are obviously having local elections. The new city council will be seated on May 10th. So this will still be the same city council.
Okay.
If we move this to the April, for action on April 8th or whenever that Monday is. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you. Brian, thank you for your work on this. We'll go now and move to the next item on the agenda, which is Highland Park CVS LLC doing business as CVS Pharmacy, looking for a Class F grocery liquor license at 1711 Sherman Avenue. I'd ask if the applicants or their attorneys are here, if you could turn on your screen. Larry, maybe you're representing them, and just introduce yourself and talk to us a little about the license that you're seeking and why you're seeking it.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Larry Cohen. I'm the attorney for CVS, and we're, as the mayor indicated, we're interested in obtaining a packaged goods license for our store at 1711 Sherman. We also have two other locations in Evanston, one at 3333 Central, and I believe the other one's at 101 Asbury. We also have packaged goods license there also. The store, basically, the hours are 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. We have approximately 22 employees there. We have a store manager who has a vast amount of experience. And in addition, we have 2 shift supervisors, so there's always somebody there. Basically, what our stores contain is typically they have 4 cooler doors for cold beer and an end cap for warm beer, and an aisle with wine and liquor. And the aisle is typically 16 feet long and 72 feet high. And everybody is Bassett trained, will be Bassett trained in the store. And we have a zero tolerance policy. My office is across the street of the State of Illinois building downtown in LaSalle. And I can't even remember when I was in there for the Liquor Control Commission for any violations. And if anybody does have violations, they would be gone the next day. So we take it very seriously. And I entertain any questions that you may have. We have approximately 15,000 square feet in the store. We have a basement also.
Thank you, Larry. Brian, in terms of the application, did everything look to be in order?
Yeah, similarly to Double Clutch, there are a few items that we're waiting on, but it's not a big deal. They're aware of it, and they'll be getting it to us if and when they receive approval for the liquor license. Just waiting for a certificate of liquor liability and the surety bond, but that's just an administrative thing. Nothing substantive that's problematic.
Okay. Are there, with this liquor license, remind me, can you sell individual bottles or it's?
We can, but if sometimes, especially in the city, they don't like to have the individual small bottles, because they don't want people, loitering in the front and drinking in the front of the store and so forth. So we're good with that. I mean, if you didn't want any individual small bottles, single bottles, or even single bottles of beer, I mean, cans of beer, that would be okay also, whatever's your pleasure.
Yeah. I mean, there's a fair amount of loitering already that goes on in front of that one downtown.
Yeah.
So I know Alderman Fisk had called me. She couldn't be here, but I know she wanted to talk to me further. And this is in the first ward. My preference would be to hold off for now on moving this. Give me time to talk to Alderman Fisk about this license, given that it's in her ward, and then revisit this at the next meeting.
Okay.
So that's how I'd like to proceed on this. There's other things, Larry, just going on that I'll just sort of share with you, right? I mean, we're still in the sort of the back end of the pandemic, hopefully in a couple months. I'd almost like to put this off for a couple months because we're coming out of the pandemic. We are going to develop, I know the city, we will develop sort of a economic revitalization plan, for different commercial areas that we have around town. I know that we would like to, see how that fits with just all the different kind of stores and vendors that we have in the different areas. So if it would, so my preference, right, would be to set this actually probably to come back and revisit this in, June, when, I feel like we definitely should be hopefully at the back end of the pandemic. We should start to see things, pick up. They can have the proper discussion then and move forward at that time.
So at that meeting or at the council meeting?
That would be at the liquor board. Well, it would come back again to the liquor board meeting. Yeah, we'd have the conversation. We'd have a more thorough conversation at that point. And again, and partly, I want to be respectful of Alderman Fisk, who couldn't be here, but called me just a little while ago on this item.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, we're going to move to the last item.
Do you know what the date would be on that?
So I will get with Brian later this week, and then Brian will follow back up with you, Larry, on that.
Okay, good enough.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move to the last item on the agenda, which is the proposed new W2 class ordinance. And this is for the golf course, so Canal Shores. I know we've got Alderman Ravel here. Canal Shores is in her ward, as well as Carl Lineberger I see here. And I think I saw, there's Tom Mann. I guess he's off, but there you are, Carl. So Carl, why don't you go ahead, introduce yourself to the group and share with us what you're looking for here.
Sure. So my name's Carl Lineberger. I'm the president of the Board of Trustees at Canal Shores. And we are very grateful that Evanston created a class of liquor license for us last year. As we got looking into that and we started to develop our business plan, we realized that we needed some fine tuning for it to actually work for us. And if I could, I'd like to defer to Tom Mann on the particulars of that. He is our resident expert on that subject.
Welcome, Tom.
Hi, everybody. First of all, let me apologize for not having my camera on. It's actually on the fritz. It's been on the fritz for a few weeks. I haven't had a chance to sort of fix it yet, but you won't be able to see my great face here on the screen. But hopefully, my voice will do the job. Yeah. So just to introduce myself, I'm one of the volunteer board members on Canal Shores as well. And I've been tasked with trying to move the liquor license forward. Just some background for the members of the board. Back in 2019, as things were kind of coming to a head with the MWRD, we're having some issues with them, and the city was in the middle of it. The MWRD allowed the city of Evanston to have alcohol on its property. It was done specifically at the time to allow the space concerts to go forward over on the first and second hole of our golf course. And in that same light, it was made clear to us that would also be okay to have alcohol on the golf course itself. They have another golf course in there, the MWD does, down in the village of Worth, where that golf course also serves alcohol, and they have beverage carts and all kinds of stuff. So I know that, Brian, you had raised the point that there was maybe some concern that we were stepping on the toes of the MWD, but they specifically allowed this to go forward back in 2019, which then also became the impetus to create the W class, or to expand the W class to be not just indoor recreational areas, but also outdoor recreational areas. And as I said, we started putting an application together in 2020, but when COVID hit, we obviously tabled it for a while. And during that period, we realized too that some of the language of the then existing Class W license, as Carl pointed out, was not really helpful to us. So that was kind of the impetus in the fall then to approach Brian and the law department, legal department, to try to tweak some of the language to make it effectively worth our while to pursue a liquor license for the golf course. That's the general background. One more comment, you'll notice that we are proposing creating a separate W2 license. I understand that there may be some incentive of the board and the city of Evanston to try to consolidate a lot of these liquor licenses, but based on our research, we have a number of cities here, which I can name if you want. It does appear that golf courses tend to warrant their own liquor license for a number of reasons. It's the area that it covers. It's the fact that oftentimes there's a moving vehicle on the property that serves food and beverages and alcohol to people. And of course, there's the concern that people are going to sneak stuff onto the property. And we often, these liquor license classes allow for the immediate ejection of those people that violate those rules. So that was why we kind of went ahead and proposed the W2 license. But the main thing is there are lots of little tweaks in here, which I am then open to you to hopefully answer and allay some concerns and whatever other questions you might have.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Carl. All right, Brian, can you talk to the board then about the nitty gritty here and what's going on with this W2 class, and does that make sense for us? And then I want to hear from Alderman Ravel if she has any perspective or concerns on this.
Sure. So as far as creating an entirely new class for the golf course, I think, like as Tom Mann said, I guess it does make sense, and it does make some sense to have a separate class for a golf course, because there are unique things about the golf course, and it's at the just square footage and the fact that it's outdoors. But I guess a thing that I would bring to the board's attention is that, any decisions on creating a new class, because I believe that golf course would probably currently be under the current Class W license, which includes current license holders of Quad Indoor Sports and Little Beans Cafe, I believe. So I think that there is some similarities between the two, and any decisions that the board makes has to take into consideration any equity concerns that it might have that implicate Quad Indoor Sports and Little Beans Cafe. In terms of what the actual license says, as I think I mentioned before, it clarifies that liquor, wine, and beer can be sold and consumed on the premises. And I think this is good that it clarifies that, because it's just unclear in the code right now, in the Class W code. So I think that is a good thing. Let's see what else.
What do they have right? So what, refresh my memory, what does Canal Shores have right now to do the out of space? Because right now you don't have the liquor card or anything, because they don't have the license to have the food and beverage card, right, Carl?
Yes, right. For Space, I believe Space pulled a separate license for that.
Oh,
That's my recollection. We certainly didn't, it wasn't under our license.
might have been a special event kind of license or something
Yeah,
like that.
right.
All right.
Um,
And so the W license, and part of the things we do, we have so many different classes of license. The W already exists, Brian, and this would be creating a new one called W2, or this would be modifying the existing W2.
This would create a new one called W2,
Okay.
and the basis for this proposed W2, it's based on the language of Class W, with some modifications made to it to comply with
that it's a golf course or something. Okay.
Right,
And
right.
again, in the W class, we have Quad and Little Beans. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Got it.
Another thing that I think maybe Tom Mann might want to expand upon or explain is the food service requirements for the proposed Class W2. Basically, he's indicated that having a fresh food setup isn't really feasible for them, like where the food is actually prepared on site, or not on site, prepared at the time for at the time right in front of the customer. Basically, what they believe he's proposing is to have use the facilities to pre-make sandwiches, stuff along those lines that can be wrapped and then just the day of, made or served to the customers. So I guess that would lessen the sort of kitchen requirements for a Class W2 license. What else? I think a concern that they brought up in paragraph 3 of the proposed ordinance is changing the language from, let's see. So basically it talks about, paragraph 3 talks about the Bassett certification requirements and just the on-site consumption requirements of the license, and basically it says that the licensee will be liable for any non-compliance with provisions regarding food service. And I don't think that's a particularly controversial provision to put in there. Where it differs from the Class W2 license, where it differs from the Class W license is Class W license says licensee will be strictly liable for any non-compliance with provisions regarding food service. And I don't think there's a problem with removing that strictly language from it, but the board should know that that strictly liable language is in other sections of the code. There are other classes of license that have that strictly liable language, and if we remove it from one, then it raises questions as to should it be removed for all different licenses, which kind of makes it a little tricky. The proposed W2 ordinance also allows for service of alcohol in original packaging. Most licenses, I don't think, or the Class W license does not allow for this. So, you know, presumably this applies to cans of beer, but it doesn't really specify what it's applying to. So that's, you know, something that I think the board should take note of. And I would say the last thing the board should take note of is that the proposed hours here are from 9 a.m. to midnight on Monday through Saturday and 10 a.m. to midnight on Sunday. That's, you know, those are early hours for liquor service to start. So, you know, that's something that the board might want to take into account when making their decision. And finally, the proposed cost of the license is $1,000 for the W2, whereas a Class W license currently is $2,500, which again raises some equity concerns for, you know, granting $1,000 for a W2, whereas a Class W is $2,500.
I agree. I mean, I think the price for whatever the W class is, to me, needs to be the same. If we're going to go create a separate class that's just a golf course, which sort of makes sense to me because I think it is unique compared to, like, you know, a contained facility like the Quad or Little Beans. You know, I'm curious on Eleanor Ravel. We have the alderman, if she has, you know, been working on this and if she has a perspective on this.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Well, I did have a special ward meeting to, you know, let residents in the ward, as well as particularly adjacent neighbors, have an opportunity to hear about the proposal and offer any comments. I heard from one resident who couldn't attend the meeting that, you know, they were firmly opposed, but the questions and comments that came up at the ward meeting, it seemed to me that the answers from Tom Mann were very reassuring to the residents. In particular, the fact that Canal Shores would have to come back every year for a renewal. It would be a one-year license. So because there was concern about, you know, are we going to see, you know, more litter? Are we going to have bad behavior on the golf course, et cetera? And so, you know, the fact that it would just be a one-year license at a time, I think gave some reassurance to adjacent neighbors that that there'd be oversight and controls. And I guess, and Canal Shores, you all talked about putting out additional trash and recycling receptacles and, you know, anticipating what some kind of impact might be. So, you know, so I'm comfortable with our going ahead with trying something like this. What I do when I looked at the proposed W2 language, it talks about, it clarifies that liquor, wine, and beer can be sold and consumed on the premises. And the naive reader of that would assume, well, that just means right there in the little patio near the pro shop. But it would be, in fact, the whole golf course is the premises. So I don't know if that needs to be more obvious in the way the language works or not. So that would be, I guess, my question.
And I think that's a good reason, to me at least, for why I think a W2 license makes sense, to create a license that, you know, is specifically for golf courses. Granted, there's only one golf course here, but we can at least clarify that. So Canal Shores understands, and any resident that looks at the license understands. How about Dick and Marion? Do you have any questions or thoughts on this issue?
Well, I had since I read about it in the early briefings on it, I'm still curious as to why we have to start drinking at 9 o'clock in the morning. I mean, our golf is different than anybody else. I mean, good God. I didn't even know they're done with their first round by 9 o'clock to head over to get a drink. I mean, come on. You know, I think it should be a lot more standardized like it is with the rest of the, you know, either 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. You know, 11 o'clock at most places, brew pubs, everything else at 11 o'clock. You know, that would be one concern that I have. The other one you already mentioned, which is the equity of the pricing. You know, if we're gonna, it should be the same for anything with a W license. You know, otherwise we're gonna get into a real mess of dealing with the quad and everybody else trying to reduce their licenses. You know, well, you gave it to the
I'd put a little
course.
golf course in the quad if I own the quad. What are you talking about? This is the golf course one.
Yeah.
Your point is well taken about the fee. We understand that. If I can speak to Mr. Peach's first point, we're just trying to be on equal footing with how a lot of other golf courses operate. And if you take a look at like Friday and Saturday mornings, the number of golfers who come in and who will purchase beer in the morning, that's not me, that's not my thing, but there are a lot of golfers who do that. And that is an important part of making this work financially for us, as well as providing that amenity for the golfers. And again, you know, they're not drinking to excess, and we certainly have responsibilities in that regard. But they will get beer, you know, at that time of the morning and take it out on the golf course because they're going to be out there for, you know, 3-4 hours. So it is something that other golf courses do. So we're just trying to get on equal footing with them.
Because I'd like to, I don't understand it, but I'm not a golfer. I'm a fisherman, and I get accused of drinking on my boat all day long, and we don't even touch it on the boat. And I definitely don't drink till I get back on shore, and that's late in the day anyway. So, but 9 o'clock in the morning just seems an awful early hour to be serving alcohol. That's all.
Carl, does Winnebago's public golf course, do they have liquor service there? And can you give us any examples of other like public golf courses in this area and what their hours are for liquor service?
Yeah, as I read the Winnetka ordinance, and again, Winnetka has a specific subclass for its golf course, but it's allowed to serve alcohol whenever the golf course is open. Village of Worth has a similar concept. And then when we were doing our research, it seems like a lot of the courses, you know, in Glenview and other places, they're allowed to serve alcohol, you know, in the morning. Now, first golfers might come in at 7 in the morning. They're not serving alcohol then, but they can serve it, you know, a little later in the morning so that they can capture that segment of the market. And again, keep in mind, Canal Shores, we're not allowed to have people bring in, you know, stop at a packaged liquor store and then bring alcohol onto the course. That's not allowed. So through us is the only way they can get alcohol, and that's what helps make it financially beneficial for us.
Okay.
If that's standard in the end, you know, for golf courses, then that's standard for golf courses. It just seemed to offer, I just thought it was an awfully early hour to be serving alcohol. That's all.
Yeah. Alderman Rainey.
May I speak?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. The only reason why I feel comfortable speaking is because of Little Beans used to be in the 8th Ward and the Sports Dome is in the 8th Ward. And so I do see an equity issue here. But in terms of the hour of beginning to serve beer at the golf course, I come from a long line of golfers, and you know, sometimes I don't know what is the earliest tee off at Canal Shores?
Yeah, 7 a.m.
7. So you have golfers who, first of all, they get up at 6, they start at 7. So by 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, I mean, they've been up for a long time. If you go to brunch on a Sunday morning, I mean, many people are drinking Bloody Marys, you know. And also, Dick, to your comment, it's very difficult to drown on the golf course, but drunken boaters are the cause of many drownings. So I think it's a little different. And you rarely see drunken golfers on a golf course, rarely, because they're so conscientious about winning. And it's very hard to get that little teeny ball in that little teeny hole if you're drunk. So they're very careful about their drinking habits. So
If I could just very briefly thank you, Alderman Rainey, just to talk about why we had asked for the lower fee. Obviously, it is an ask. We're obviously well aware of the equity issues. I think our thinking in this whole thing was we are not a private organization looking for private profit, but rather a community organization looking to sort of enrich the community. So it was because of the nature of our organization, not actually trying to generate a lot of money and to try to do so basically as an amenity and not necessarily as a driving force of our profit margin. It's really more of an amenity. We thought, well, if there's any way to sort of cut us some slack, ultimately the benefit goes back to the community and not into the private coffers of an individual. So that was our thinking. Just because we aren't really a for-profit company, we're really only a community organization, nonprofit community organization.
Well, my recollection is when we gave the Sports Dome a liquor license, we limited the number of drinks people could have, I think. I mean, I didn't look this up before this meeting, but and not to mention the struggle both entities have had during the shutdown. And I would really encourage the board to consider lowering their fees as opposed to raising Canal Shores fees, license fees.
Thank you, Alderman. All right, Marion, do you have any thoughts on this one you wanted to share?
I do, and I don't know whether you all want to hear what I have to say. It bothers me. Number one, I'm not a golfer. It's almost a privilege thing. It's almost going into that privilege that, well, golfers don't do this golf, and that irritates me. That offends me on a lot of levels when you're making differentiations between, oh, because they are this, it's okay for them to start having alcohol at 9 a.m. It's a personal thing, but that's my opinion, and I'll leave it like that.
Thank you, Marion. I don't think you're the only one that feels that way. There are others out there that do. I guess I go back to Alderman Ravel's point that this is renewable every year. It's a control mechanism. If we see people abusing it, if we see trash all over the place, anything like that, it gives the alderman of the ward, a lot of influence to tell our colleagues, like, oh, the mayor, I'm not comfortable, seeing this renewed. So I think that's positive. It is a unique entity, different, I think, than the others. And so, having a separate class makes sense to me, Brian's W2 class. I hear the point about, this is a community organization. I can tell you that there are other, nonprofit organizations that have liquor licenses and all of that would be sort of community kind of places. And we don't, create a separate discount for them. To Alderman Rainey's point just about the pandemic and the economic hardship that's caused, that's real. Okay. I was on another call today where we were talking about restaurants, right? Because they all have to pay a restaurant fee to the city. And, one of the things that I said on that call, and I think it could potentially be applied to our liquor licenses too, is that, we're all tracking closely this aid package in DC. If it does pass, there's going to be money that comes to the city of Evanston. I have talked to the city manager and shared my, thought, which is, look, a decent portion of this money, if it comes down, ought to be focused on revitalizing our economy, getting our businesses back up and running and all of that. And, one of those things would be for the council at that time, if this money comes down, and it's looking sort of promising. We're having the pandemic task force. I know Alderman Rainey and Ravel sometimes join that. Congresswoman Schakowsky speaking this Friday. I've invited her for the spotlight. So we'll get an update from her on how she feels about this legislation and whether it gets through the Senate. But if it does, that just gives a tool to our council, a financial tool for how do we best put that together. And maybe that's, for the year, giving some kind of discount on our liquor licenses or on our restaurant licenses and so forth. I sort of feel for now, we shouldn't necessarily take one approach to any particular license class. I think it should be more of a macro approach that's taken to all of our licenses if the council decides to do that. So this was just a discussion item for today. I think it was a good discussion. My sense from our conversation is, Brian, for you to work with Tom and Carl, draft up this W2 class ordinance. And then I don't know if it has to come to the Liquor Commission first or if it can just go to the council. The first thing would be we have to create the class, the ordinance for the class, and then we'd put Canal Shores forward as an applicant later once the class is created. And I presume time-wise, especially again, as I think people are starting to, even though not enough of us have gotten vaccines, so starting to feel optimistic that good things are happening on the vaccine front, we could see a summer where a lot of people are outside, they want to, golf and play sports. So we want to move quickly, I would think, on this to try and get them the license so they could do this.
Yes, Mayor Haggerty, this actually has been drafted as an ordinance.
Okay.
If you want me to continue working with the Canal Shores folks on this, more than happy to do it. But what had been presented on the agenda today was kind of envisioned to be close to a final product.
All right, and Carl and Tom, are you okay with that, final product? If we put this forward to the city council, because I would want to put this forward to the council on March 22nd.
Tom, I'll defer to you on that.
Yeah, I think that was kind of our hope. I understand one of the things that I should address too, and Brian, you talked about the paragraph 1 being the license, the food and the sandwiches and stuff. One of the things board members should know is we are not planning, and Alderman Ravel knows this, we are not planning on having a beverage cart because that is a very typical sort of amenity that a lot of golf courses have, where there's a cart that goes out. It's a tripped out sort of golf cart that goes around and serves drinks and food on the golf course. We had no intention of really doing that this year. It's just not in our operating budget because there is some investment involved. But that was ultimately also kind of what we wanted to add in at some point. It doesn't have to be this year. That was not it's obviously not set up to be put in this year, but that might be something going forward we would want to at least explore as an opportunity. So at this point, the way this thing is set up, it obviously is not envisioning a beverage cart, a classic sort of beverage cart for golf courses. It's just more or less folks being able to have a drink at the patio where you at the first tee, and then also take a beverage or two out onto the golf course. And with that, yes, we would be happy going forward with this particular draft. And Mayor, the board is free to make motions to amend the ordinance as it's been presented to you on the agendas, because it's currently written as $1,000 for the fee. You're more than free to make a motion to amend that to a different cost. The hours of operation are also subject to any portion of it is subject to an amendment on the part of the board.
So those were the items that we talked about. So I'll move a motion to have the fee for the W2 class to be the same as for the W class at $2,500. Is there a second? Maybe not.
I'll second that.
No. All right. All in favor of that? Aye. Marion's and I, Dixon, aye. All right. So all three of us are in favor of that change. In terms of the hours of operation, I'm personally, I'm not going to move a motion to change that. I'm okay with trying it for a year. And again, let's see how it goes for the Canal Shores. Let's see how it goes for the aldermen of the ward and the neighbors. And we can revisit if we have to renew and there were issues. And again, I believe it is consistent as you guys have cited other research with other golf courses. So that the hours make sense to me given the industry.
Right, front, inside.
Okay, so I don't think we have a change there. Anything else then that we needed to move to change, Brian?
Can I just suggest that, and this is a minor point, but one that I just wanted to clarify, that the paragraph 3 of the proposed code section change, that the motion to clarify that beer may be served in original packaging, but not wine or liquor.
Whatever. That'd be the first minute, but just under-
So beer, but not wine or liquor.
As a
Okay.
practical matter, I don't think they'd be serving bottles of wine on the course, but just, just to
I
make
guess
the code clear.
yeah, I don't think so. Although I know we've had discussions here before about smaller bottles of wine and stuff like that. So I guess I just turned to Tom or Carl to make sure we make that change, just to clarify and make sure it's clear that
Just quick.
you're not selling bottles of liquor or bottles of wine, but
I think we're okay with that.
Yeah,
Carl,
we're
I don't
okay
know.
with that, yes. Our main concern was cans of beer. Like when we get it from a distributor, it's going to be cans of beer, and we need to be able to sell those cans of beer in that same original packaging to golfers.
all right.
That
Does
was-
that
If you want to add something about not having glass in there, we're okay with that too. I see that maybe that's not 100% clear either. We don't want to have glass out on the golf course for our own purposes. That would not be good.
So Brian, I consider this, I don't know if there's such a thing as sort of a relatively immaterial type of change. I don't know if
Yeah.
it needs, the board. So I'm okay. Again, you, Canal Shores, just, finalizing these things. We've taken care of
Okay.
the fee on it. And then let's move this forward to the council for March 22nd. Okay, Marion.
I'm abstaining from this because I have some issues with some of this.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm not my approval on this.
Duly noted. Okay, and so I just want to think timeline then. Is there any way we could move this to the council for this Monday? For the 8th? Because again, it's an ordinance. It will have to have 2 readings, I believe. And then they're going to have to come with a license, the application for a license. And again, I just want to make sure we're moving quick enough to help Canal Shores for this season.
I think that the clock has passed on getting it on for the
On
8th.
this Monday? Okay, so it'll have to
Yeah.
be the 22nd. All right, so if
Right.
you could just though work with the, Canal Shores and make sure we're moving as expeditiously as possible, Brian.
Of course.
Assuming the council passes this new W2 class ordinance.
Okay. And I don't know if did you actually vote on the actual ordinance as amended? I don't know if I heard you guys
No,
do
you
that.
do. You're right. You're
Okay.
right. We didn't do that. So I'm going to move
Okay.
the ordinance as amended. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. So we'll take a vote now on the ordinance as amended. I'm an aye. Dick, Peach, Marion Beth is abstaining, or you're a no. You're a no. Okay. And Marion's a no. Okay. All right. So on 2-1, we'll move that forward. Alderman Ravel.
Well, I just have a question in terms of kind of expediting this. Could Canal Shores come to the liquor board with its proposed license application while the amendment itself is still pending? So for example, so if on the 22nd of March, the amendment's introduced, it's approved the first meeting in April, but the license is already moving through the process as well. I'm just wondering how that, or can they not apply for the license until we've approved the amendment?
Right, until it does, can they apply for a license that doesn't exist yet? I don't think technically that they can. I mean, I can work with them so that they can accumulate all of the paperwork and, like they're moving towards an application, but I guess a formal submission of their application wouldn't be until the city council had approved the new class W2 license. But even then, that would be early April. I don't know that we have another date for a liquor review board meeting, set up anytime soon. They seem to happen every couple of months, but if the board wanted to meet sometime in April to review, then, we could make that happen and then move to the city council from there. So we can definitely get the process started, but like the actual formal submission application and everything like that, I don't think would happen until a W2 license is created.
Okay.
Alderman Rainey.
Eleanor, you could suspend the rules at our meeting.
On the 22nd.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So what I think I'll do, because I'm having a ward meeting next week, and I could during that ward meeting, I could bring people up to speed on where we are with this amendment. Because it is, I mean, it is a big, I think it's a big deal for the 7th Ward. So, you know, I don't want to be seen as kind of rushing something through, but so let me think about whether, if I start getting some pushback on it, then I think I wouldn't suspend the rules, but I'll see how that goes.
Right.
Yeah.
Ideally, I'd love to see us get this all wrapped up in this existing city council.
Oh,
So
right.
it doesn't have to carry over after May
Right,
10th,
right,
since we've been
right.
handling the issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All-
So that's another good reason for
Yeah.
expediting it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that was a good discussion. Thank you, everybody. And Carl and Tom, thank you for all that you are doing with Canal Shores. I hope you know, it's very, very important to, the city council, to so many of our residents, to have that, golf facility here in Evanston. And, the whole art display that you did, you got good events going on in non-golf season and all that stuff. And the golf course is looking great. The work that Patrick Hughes and your whole team is doing to clear out, invasive species and stuff is really looking great.
Thank you very much. It's our pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And we're looking forward to getting out of space back. I don't know if it's going to happen this summer, but the next summer. All right. Okay. So that wraps up our agenda for today. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right. I'll second that. And Marion, you good with adjourning? All right.
I'm good with adjourning.
On a 3-0 vote, the Liquor Board of Evanston is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.